Like practically summer vacation?
Basically.
Okay. So it's obviously not the week.
You
guys
ready?
Fridays in the week. First thing, I have 3 formulas. I just want you to write them down, and then I will talk about them. So we're really calculating 3 different things in this section. They are all things that you have done before. So the first is the distance formula, which is how we figure out how far apart 2 points are. Second one is the midpoint formula, how we find the middle between 2 points. And the third one is the Pythagorean theorem, which, when do you use that?
Triangles.
And right triangles. Okay, so write these down and then I'll talk about them.
Seems like Omni works.
Very often. All right, so the distance and midpoint, you see like x1, x2, y1, y2. It's like saying if you have 2 points, x sub 1 is the ordered, and y sub 1 is the ordered pair of 1 point. X sub 2, y sub 2 is the ordered pair of the second point. So distance formula figures out how far apart those 2 things are. Draw a straight line. Midpoint formula finds what point will be on the middle of that line segment if we drew the segment in. Pythagorean theorem only works in a right triangle. So A and B are the legs of that triangle, and C has to be the hypotenuse, or the longest side. So you should have seen all of these before, maybe, maybe not. Okay. I would not like distance and midpoint. I would give you those, well, distance at least. I would give you if you needed it. Midpoint, I'll talk about an easy way to figure that out. So let's look at an example. If I want to find the distance between these 2 points. So this is like the point x sub 1, y sub 1. This is your x sub 2 and y sub 2. So the distance formula you just wrote down looked like this. So we're just going to plug in our numbers. So x sub 2 is 5 minus x sub 1 is 3 squared. Y sub 2 is 4 minus y sub 1 is negative 4 squared. Okay, you cannot use this square root to cancel those squares. Why? There's an addition sign right here, so there's 2 terms under that radical, so they can't cancel. So we just have to simplify underneath first. So 5 minus 3 is 2. So we have 2 squared. 4 minus negative 4, so that's 8 squared. So 4 plus 64 is the square root of 68. I do not want decimals, but I do want your radicals in reduced form. So do any perfect squares go into 68? 4 and what?
17.
So the square root of 4 is 2. And you get 2 radical 17 for your distance. Is that okay? Alright, so let's look at this problem. A right triangle has a hypotenuse of 13. What's the hypotenuse in a right triangle? The longest one. It's across from the right angle. And one leg of length 12 was the length of the remaining one. It doesn't matter which of these you call A and B. So this is a Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. The only thing that matters is that C has to be the hypotenuse. Otherwise it won't work out. So I get A squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. So a squared equals 25. What now?
Square root.
Square root. Typically, if you add a square root, you have to do plus and minus. But if you're talking about a triangle, can you have a negative length? No, so it's just positive 5. You guys okay with that? Let's do a midpoint. So I want the midpoint of the segment from negative 5, 5 to 3, 1. So if we look at this, you don't have to draw a picture, but I just want to make sure you guys know what I'm finding. Negative 5, 5, 3, 1. If you connected those, I want to know what point is on the middle of this line segment. Okay, I can't just eyeball it. I need to know exactly. So our midpoint formula, the midpoint is the middle of this. Okay, if you want to find the middle of two numbers, what do you have to do?
Add them and then divide.
Yeah, it's just an average. Add them up and divide by 2. So our midpoint is an ordered pair, and essentially what you do is you average the x's, you average the y's to get that ordered pair. So for my x's, we have negative 5 plus 3 divided by 2. For my y's, we have 5 plus 1 divided by 2.
Wait, I thought the midpoint formula was x sub 1 plus x sub. Is that incorrect?
It is.
Oh, ooh, ouchies. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter which x you put first, as long as you have both of those x's added together. So you could put, 3 plus negative 5, that's fine too.
Do you want us to put both numbers, or do you care if we simplify?
We're going to go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. So negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2, divided by 2 is negative 1. 5 plus 1 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. So the midpoint is the point negative 1, 3. Which, from my picture, pretty good job of guessing that.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, I am that good, guys. Just so you know.
No,
Drew, you're interrupting my
I'm
class.
sorry. It's just, some things.
You're
man,
taking my picture?
Yeah, it's your outfit.
Oh, well, I really went all out for you.
Hey, let's do some work. All right, Landon? Chill out.
Thank you. He needs a little extra motivation.
Yeah, let's get some work done.
I don't need that extra motivation from him.
From Drew.
He started his project
He looks like the one guy
that was due 6th hour and 5th hour, and finished it in 5th hour.
He got it done? How long did he have to work on this
A
project?
few days.
What was his grade on it? Did he do good?
We haven't. It's a presentation. He hasn't done it yet.
All right. Let's look at this one. So what I am giving you here is a midpoint and one of the endpoints. And I'm asking you to find the other one. So there are two ways of going about this. One way is like the algebraic way, and one way is reasoning. So I will show you both ways and you guys decide what you like. All right? You can. So the first option is to use our midpoint formula. Midpoint finds the middle of two endpoints. So I have one of them, if I call the other one xy. So to find the x value of your midpoint, you add up the x's. So it'd be x plus 8. You divide by 2. And what did that have to equal? 4, because that's the x value of the midpoint. So then we could solve this. If we add over the multiply over the 2 and subtract the 8, the x value had to be 0.
Yeah, wait, what?
Okay.
Would it be 8?
You guys okay with this step?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's the, yeah.
So then, to solve this equation, I multiplied by 2. So those cancel. So we have x plus 8 equals 8. And then subtract it over my 8.
She's wanting to get rid of not to
So the first x is 0.
So the first x of my endpoint had to be 0. Now I have to find the y. So think about finding the midpoint for your y. You would add up the y's, divide by 2, and it has to equal the y value of the midpoint,
You're so close.
which is negative 4.
Are you saying you add up the y's? You're not adding the y's at all? No, you just add the endpoint y.
Yeah, these two endpoints. So then to solve this for y, you multiply by the denominator, so we multiply by 2. And then you add over the 20. So we get y equals 12.
I like the reasoning way more.
Oh,
I
that's
haven't even showed you the reasoning yet.
Well,
So-
it's like-
My other endpoint had to be 0, 12. All I really did here was took this midpoint formula and used the midpoint that was given to solve for the missing variable. Now, I always have a few people that like this way because they're more algebra minded, and that's fine. If you like those equations, you can do that. Here's the other option. Okay, I'm going to draw just a really rough sketch here. This is not to scale, okay? So one of my endpoints is 8, negative 20. The middle is 4, negative 4. And I have to figure out what this endpoint would be.
Yeah.
So, start with your x's. Starting with 8, what do you have to add or subtract to get down to 4? You have to subtract 4, right? So now I'm at 4. I have to do the same pattern. So I would subtract 4 and you get 0. So then we look at our y's.
At 16.
So this is negative 20. To get to negative 4, what do? Add 16. So you're at negative 4. If you add 16,
Yeah, that's so much easier.
if it makes sense to you, then that's faster for sure.
Well, it's
Um,
just like, just challenge.
That's basically right.
Yeah, it's just looking for the pattern. So you guys tried this one. Okay.
Oh, the middle point goes in the middle. Ooh, that makes sense.
Make sure when you set up your picture,
Let's go.
you put the right one on the end. So this is negative 6, 12. The middle is 8, negative 2. And we want to find this end. So if you start at negative 6, what do you do to negative 6 to get 8?
Add 14.
So we have to do it again. So 8 plus 14, 22. All right. What do you do to 12 to get negative 2?
Negative subtract 14.
So negative 2 minus 14,
Negative 16.
and there we go.
When you do it right.
It does make a difference, yeah.
I mean, I kind of got there.
You had the idea, just said that right.
Negative 20 and 26 is basically 22 and negative 16.
Basically. All right. Any questions on this? Do you guys want more practice on anything?
I'll show you. I remember all this stuff.
Good.
Do we have to do it the other way, or can we let?
No, you just pick a way, and I don't care how. Okay. Here is a math Excel assignment. It's not too incredibly long, so I'm hoping that you have time to get it done in class and not have any homework.